40 years ago this month, Norman Kirk's Labor government introduced the Domestic Purposes Benefit. Some support for solo mothers was already available, but a Royal Commission had recommended a new benefit set high enough to allow solo parents to stay at home to look after their children. Advocates argued that it was an essential right, especially for women who were in harmful relationships. But solo mums have also become the target of critics of our welfare system. This year, the DPP changed its name to Sole Parent Support, and beneficiaries must now look for part-time work once their youngest child is 5, earlier if they have another child while on the benefit. Social Development Minister Paula Bennett joins me now. Good morning, Minister. Thanks for coming in. So, I think we have almost 80,000 people on sole parent support now. Why so many?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good question. I think because they need the financial support. We've got different arrangements now, if you like, so we don't have perhaps that sort of sanctity of marriage that we saw back then. So people are not often getting married before they have children. So there is some evidence that the relationships are not as stable. So we have more marriage breakups or relationship breakups. I mean, a number of reasons. And I think there is part of it is because the support is there. And for some, it is intergenerational.
It isn't intergenerational. We've seen the statistics on that. You know, then you look at issues, say, in Australia. They certainly have a higher rate of marriage than we do. There are questions about our promiscuity in this country, or whether it's just a path that some women follow. Is there research to suggest why we've got to 80,000 people?
Look, there is, and there's a whole lot of research, and it depends on what your kind of ideological bent is as to which direction you'll go. But at the end of the day, I think the ones that we've decided we're going to spend the most support, the most money on, is those teen parents. Now, I would say for the third year in a row, the number of teen parents has gone down for the first time since the 1960s. But they are the most likely to stay on the longest, cost the most, have the poorest outcomes, if you like. And just to give you a bit of numbers, so for those that go on in their teens, 60% of them will still be there in 10 years' time.
Right, so you need to get it at that, you need to get it extremely early. So how do you stop then? Because to a certain degree, when we're encouraging women to work or solo parents to work and go back to work while they've had children, that's almost a bit of an ambulance at the bottom of the cliff approach. How do you stop young women, particularly intergenerational beneficiaries, if you like, looking at the solo parent support, the old DPB, as a path that's a pretty normal path to follow?
Well, the first thing we do is we no longer give them a benefit, if you like, and give them all of the money and send them off and hope that they're okay. So when you are 16, 17 or 18 and you have a baby, you will not be given cash in your bank account each week for you to go and spend however you like. You now have to be attached to a youth service, so we wrap that mentoring, that education around you. We pay your board or your rent directly. You then get some money on a payment card that you can use, and you get a bit of pocket money. That completely changes your relationship with the state, which I think is really important, wraps the right support around you, and we think is ultimately changing those outcomes.
So the pressure is, largely on women and young women who've had the children. I question what pressure is in a preventative measure is on men, because when you look at what's outstanding in terms of child support, this is extraordinary, $2.8 billion. That's not largely being paid by men to support the children that they've fathered, if you like. So what are we doing to target those men, to stop them at pretty much the point of contact and make them think, if I do this is, I'm going to be paying a lot of money? Because at the moment, they're not penalised, really. A lot of them just don't pay that child support, and the likes of you and I pay for these children instead.
Well, the first thing I would say is thank goodness for these sole mums. They are the ones in general that are raising these children. 89% of those that are on the sole parent support are women. So I am generalising slightly, but when you're at nearly 90%, you can. So they are the ones that are getting up every day and taking these children to school and doing the main parenting role. So I say hats off to them. I know people like to think that I'm pushing them too hard and everything else. I think they're amazing, and I think if it wasn't for them, our children would be worse off. But those dads have got a role. There is no doubt about it that the child support payments are, at an increasingly high rate of not being paid. That is why attention is going on there from the IRD. We've got better matching with Australia now, so we are literally chasing those that are overseas. I know that the Minister is putting far more emphasis emphasis on child support payments being paid. We're constantly looking at how that when someone does go into work off the sole parent support, that they then can access their child support quicker, more regularly. That's a real worry for women. They can sort of take the bite and go into a job, but they're relying on that child support to get by each week, and they don't have a guarantee that it's going to come in.
So they're raising the children, and at times their benefits being manipulated a little bit. Meantime, let's be fair, loser sometimes comes into the situation, a bloke, they have sex a couple of times, he disappears back, he's on probably a benefit as well, there's another child. So that's what I mean, where does the deterrent stop? We're always told as women, family planning and issues around that, but what stops the men? There just doesn't seem a deterrent for men to be fathering children.
So we must say it's a few, right? There's fantastic dads out there that play an active role, that pay more than their fair share.
When you've got $2.8 billion outstanding, there's obviously some losers. That's, I mean, that's the reality.
Okay, so there are, but I wanted to say some, because I don't want to be sitting here bagging those dads that are doing a great job, and we hear some pretty sad stories from them as well. So you're right. We have these ones that prey particularly on teen mums, and there's no two ways about it. There is a high proportion that get them pregnant, bugger off, quite frankly, and then don't pay for them, and then move on to the next vulnerable young woman that's, insecure and looking for a bit of love, like, we've all been through, turning to the wrong person, and then off they go again. If they are on a benefit, then they can only up to 40% of that benefit can go to child support, and when they have multiple children to multiple partners, it's something that I look at a lot as to how we can change that balance. Equally, they're not likely to go off benefit, because once they do, they'll have to pay higher rates of child support, and so there's a barrier there, a disincentive, if you like, for them actually to get off benefit. So we most definitely look at them. We don't accept that as an excuse not to go into paid work, but there is a much wider policy issue that I can well accept we need to be addressing better. The best thing we can do, though, is get those girls with the right mentors, the right support, so that they're not being preyed on by these boys and can make better decisions.
Is there a need for a radical reform here?
Yeah, it's a tricky area, because you have, I always sort of say, you have people that perhaps are together in a longer term relationship, they break up, so they're going through the emotional trauma of a relationship breakup, add children into the mix, and it's extremely, the anxiety must just be through the roof, and we put IRD in the middle of it, like they're the ones that are working this out. But as I say, there are fantastic men that feel they don't get the right kind of access that they would like to their children. I have men saying, I do pay my child support, I'm not sure it's going to my child. It's being spent on other things. So there is very much two sides of it, and it's an incredibly complex and difficult area to go into.
Do we have solo parent capitals, if you like, in this country?
Yes, we have some areas that have much higher rates than others.
I'm thinking of Kawerau as one of them.
Most certainly, it's one of the highest. We have one of the highest teen pregnancy rates in Gisborne. Up Northland has kind of got very high sole parent rates. Yes, there are areas without a doubt.
Is it possible to throw some money, I might be oversimplifying it here, at these regions? Because if you can't stop the men who are on benefits or whatever, or running around fathering children everywhere, can you target some of these women? Because surely it's easier to put them through education processes, or offer them scholarships, get some sex education in there, give them a chance of seeing a route forward, because surely that would be cheaper than spending however many years on the intergenerational benefit paying for their children. So yes, as the very short answer, and that's exactly what we're doing. So you're seeing far more support for these girls in schools. We have got a pilot going at the moment, which is getting the right kind of role models and mentors around girls that are more like 13 and 14, so that they see, I always say for Māori women, I say, we are strong, we are the ones that rule the roost and rule our marae, and we are the ones that can actually give these girls a sense of pride in themselves, so that they are able to make those sorts of educational outcomes. When you see the teen pregnancy rates dropping, yes, it's because of differences in contraception and everything else, but it's because they can see a long-term pathway for themselves, that they've got aspirations and goals. And then when they do get pregnant and they need the support, we put in $287 million extra last year into youth services for those in particular, $80 million extra in childcare. Let's get more eyes
on them and their babies, more support around them. I always say you can end up a cabinet minister, you know, if you've had one. Yeah. But it gets really hard when you're having 2 or 3 very young, and particularly with different fathers. Your options get very narrow very quickly, so we're getting in as early as we can.
So we've got 80,000 at the moment on solo parent support, and of course that does include men, some men as well as women. If you could pluck a figure out of the air which you think is acceptable, because let's be fair, there's always going to be the need, you know, it's a welfare state, there's always going to be a need for a benefit. What would be an acceptable and manageable number for you that you would like to see maybe accessing this benefit?
I suppose I probably more look at those that are going on. So we certainly put expectations on people when they are on the benefit and on the sole parent, and when they should be getting themselves ready and looking for work. But I look most closely at those that are going on under the age of 20. And just to throw you another really interesting one, for those that are currently on the benefit age between 30 and 39, so currently on the benefit age between 30 and 39, 60% of them went on as teenagers. 60%. So our attention is more on who is going on, how can we slow that down, how can we stop it, how can we get them off better skilled, better equipped for the world, so that they don't see a lifetime of benefit receipt.
All right, Social Development Minister Paula Bennett, thank you.